fresh clashes with the Tehreek-e-Taliban. Now, speaking in New Delhi, Muttaqi has condemned the strikes and stated that Afghanistan will not allow any foreign military presence. He's also, in doing so, responded to US President Donald Trump's plan to take over the Bagram Airbase. Listen in to what Afghanistan's foreign minister had to say.
अलबत्ता सरहदी इलाकों में जो हमारे दूर दराज इलाके हैं वहाँ पे कुछ अटैक हुआ है, हम उसकी मज़म्मत करता है और हम पाकिस्तान हुकूमत का ये काम एक बड़ा गलती समझता है कि अफ़गानिस्तान में कभी भी कोई ख़ारिजी जो मिलिट्री है वो वहाँ पे लोग कबूल नहीं किया है, इससे बात भी कबूल नहीं करता है। तो ये हमारा फैसला है कि अफ़गानिस्तान एक आज़ाद खुद मुख्तार मुल्क है और इससे बाद भी आज़ाद और ख़ुद मुख्तार होता है। अगर ममालिक चाहिए कि हमारे साथ ताल्लुकात चाहिए तो डिप्लोमेटिक मिशन में आ सकता है, तो इक़्तिसादी मिशन में आ सकता है, लेकिन मिलिट्री के यूनिफॉर्म में हमको कबूल नहीं।
All right, the Taliban minister is on a 6-day visit to India, where he's already met Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. Meanwhile, New Delhi has announced plans to reopen its embassy in Kabul, upgrading ties with the Taliban administration. With us on the broadcast is Ambassador Suresh Goyal, former Indian diplomat, joining us from New Delhi. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to NewsX World. We just heard what the Taliban's Foreign Minister has had to say. He's in New Delhi. He's met Dr. Jaishankar as well. He's accused Pakistan of violating Kabul's sovereign territory with the recent airstrikes that we have seen. What are the implications of Pakistan's actions, especially considering the geopolitics of this region?
The situation between Afghanistan and Pakistan is totally different from the last Taliban regime, often called Taliban 1.0. At that time, Taliban depended a great deal on Pakistan for its own access to the outer world, for its security and political support. This time situation is very different. There are many factors here which are playing between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Number one, and I think that is the most important one also, one of the most important factors. Number one is that USA trying to get Bagram Airbase for itself, which Afghanistan considers very useful for its own purposes and its own territory. And Pakistan is providing, I suspect, even though there is no confirmation, but I think one of the reasons that the USA is giving so much of support to Pakistan is that Pakistan can be useful in getting access for the US to the Bagram Airbase, and therefore that creates a conflict in the interests of Pakistan and Afghanistan. Number two, a Durand line. The Khyber Pakhtunistan, the Durand line, which divides Afghanistan and Pakistan, has been challenged for many decades. In fact, from the beginning, by Afghanistan, and one of their actually announced political objective is to get the frontier areas from Pakistan to become part of Afghanistan as a larger Afghanistan as they had imagined Afghanistan to be earlier. They have never accepted Durand line. And that creates another area of very serious confrontation. It's not even just conflict, confrontation of interest between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And thirdly, the TTP in Pakistan, which is actually conducting all kinds of attacks on the Pakistani army, and Taliban, Pakistan thinks the Taliban is supporting TTP in its activities, and Taliban does consider those elements as useful in its own strategy against Pakistan. So there are several elements which are coming together in the case of Afghanistan, and they are playing in this, I would say, increasing and rousing confrontation between the two countries. Yes.
Indeed, and interestingly, encountering Trump's Bagram demands, we've recently seen the Moscow format meeting also taking place. Muttaqi was there, a very crucial visit. The Moscow format also rejected foreign military role, prioritizing economic ties with Afghanistan. Now, Afghanistan is very crucial geopolitically speaking because it's also a major transit route in itself to, South Asia and then Central Asia and beyond to Europe. In this context, what role can then we expect Russia to play?
A good question here, I must say that, and keeping track of the Russian format. Russia itself is very wary of the USA coming into Afghanistan at the Bagram Airbase, because that way USA will be able to use forces against the Central Asian region and also get closer to the Russian borders in case of any security confrontation, security conflict. So Russia is not interested in the USA coming into Afghanistan at all. Secondly, Russia has always considered Afghanistan as the area of its influence. If you recall, from 1970s onwards, Nazibullah, who became the first president of Afghanistan after the thaw of the Zahir, the king of Afghanistan. So in terms of politics and the changes in Afghanistan, Russia does consider Afghanistan as a part of its own security strategy. Do remember that the great wars between Russia and UK were fought over Afghanistan. Do remember that, please. And therefore, the Russian format, where India is also part of it, is a part of the strategy in terms of keeping the Western powers away from Afghanistan. And Bagram Airbase is an important, even though it was developed by the USA, frankly, but nobody wants really USA to be there at present because it will hurt their own security interests.
Indeed. Yes. And last but not the least, with this meeting taking place between Muttaqi and Jaishankar, India has now stated that it will be reopening its embassy in Kabul, which it had temporarily shut down in 2021 after US troops had left. And it's going to be upgrading ties with the Taliban administration. We have seen in recent times humanitarian aid being provided, development aid being provided by India. But what does this move now signal, particularly to Pakistan and the United States?
Very interesting move. I must say that humanitarian and the development assistance from India to Afghanistan never really stopped over the last 2 years, even after Taliban took over. We downgraded the embassy to a kind of a functional office to keep really working on these projects. So they never really stopped. And our recognition of Afghanistan, Taliban as the legitimate government of Afghanistan, was really looking at two factors. One is Taliban's policies against women, and number two, international acceptance of Taliban as the legitimate government in the country. I think gradually what has happened is that many countries have already accepted Taliban as the de facto government, and therefore the only really important factor that remains is their treatment of women. You will remember that even yesterday at the press conference, Muttaqi didn't allow the women journalists to come to the press conference. I think India it's a good idea to open the embassy there, because that way we will be able to really have a much better kind of interaction and effective interaction with Afghanistan, which is a very important security issue for us. But also I do think that by being there, we should be able to work with Taliban government to slowly, it won't happen immediately, to slowly change the policies towards women really. I think that's important from our own democracy and our own civilizational point of view. But we should be actually helping that happen rather than keeping away. So I think it's a good move.
Absolutely, Ambassador Goel. With that, I would like to thank you for taking out time sharing your analysis with us on NewsX World. Meanwhile, viewers, we're tracking some further developments from the US. Donald Trump has now been declared in exceptional health, with a cardiac age reportedly 14 years younger than his actual age of 79. The White House has released a memo from Trump's physician, Dr. Sean Barbella, stating that the president shows strong cardiovascular, pulmonary and neurological performance. Trump, the oldest person to retake the presidency, underwent a full checkup at Walter Reed Military Medical Center ahead of his planned trip to the Middle East following the ceasefire deal in Gaza. The memo states that he has received all preventive screenings and vaccinations, including flu and COVID-19 boosters. Trump's health has drawn renewed attention following Joe Biden's withdrawal from the 2024 race, with Trump portraying himself as fitter and more energetic. Alright viewers, shifting focus to more developments trickling in. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center has stated that a tsunami threat was issued after a 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck the Drake Passage, a stretch of water located between the southern tip of South America and Antarctica. The U.S. Geological Survey has stated that the quake was at a depth of a mere 10 kilometers. Chile's Shore Marine Authority has issued a precautionary tsunami alert for the country's Antarctic territory, and authorities have asked people to evacuate the beaches.